Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Happy Saturday. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, hyping, all of the things that you do to help the channel grow. I really appreciate it. So, I don't know how long this is going to be. I know there's just a couple of things that I did want to look at. Um, because I know people are concerned about them. So, one of them is the meeting that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, called for, I think it's Tuesday, and he's called all of the top brass. So, anybody with any general, I feel like, with 1 star or more has been summoned to Quantico, Virginia, for a face-to-face meeting with Hegseth. There's been all kinds of speculation as to what this is about. Um, things like, are we about to be enmeshed in World War III? Is there about to be a declaration of martial law? Is this meant just to be a pep talk? Is it meant to be a talking points reminder so that everybody will know how to be on the same page? Is it a loyalty test? Um, will there be mass firings or retirements as a consequence of what happens at this meeting? There's a lot of speculation. So I thought I would just look um, at how that's going to go and what the agenda is. So I could use the birds because that would be for the meeting, but I feel like I'd rather look at Hegseth himself because he's the one who called the meeting. So we'll use the older man. Now, he's not old, but he would probably prefer that I use the younger man for him, since I think he's probably quite vain about his appearance, and that's why I'm going to use the older man. Okay, what is Pete Hegseth's agenda for this Tuesday meeting of all of the top brass at Quantico in Virginia, leaving every place in the country and in the world, um, you know, rudderless. It's so dumb. Anyway, okay, so we're going to look for the older man, and that will be stand for Hegseth. Deep in the deck, hiding. Here he is. Okay, so this is Pete Hegseth. We want to look at his intentions for calling this meeting. Okay. So our line of five begins with the young woman, the fish. This is Hegseth this time, the garden, and the cross. So, and I hate using this. Well, he's against women in the military, so there's that. So it may be a talking point, one of the talking points about that is, how to drum women out of the military, what his stance is on women in combat, etc. But I also think it's because he himself doesn't feel sufficiently respected, I would say, by the brass. Um, so he's going to, I can mirror it with the last card. He's going to create a little pain for them. Now, the next card is fish, and I can mirror that with the garden. So, you know, fish is the card for emotion. It's also the card for money, but it's not money, it's about emotion. So one of the things that, calling everybody to one single place, he knows that it's going to create a stir, get people worked up, get people, the public, worked up. So a lot of what Hegseth does, of course, being a Fox guy, is for theater. It's performative. It's for show. Uh, so I pulled clarifiers, and then of course we have this cross, and it's pain. First of all, it's certainly pain for the brass who have to come from all over the place, change their plans and travel, and it's incredibly disruptive. So, I think the point is that Hegseth wants everybody to know I can just snap my fingers like that, and they bow to me. They come where I tell them to go. So we go back to this card, the young woman, and the clarifiers are the scales, the whip, and the book. So what if, again, I feel like this is about putting them in their place, uh, letting them know what Hegseth scale of justice looks like. Because it doesn't look like anything that you and I would identify as a scale of justice. But he wants to put his thumb on the scale and let people know that if they want to keep their jobs, this is the kind of, the way that he weighs things is the way that they should weigh things. This is about discipline. So it's about getting people in order, getting the brass in formation. And I can mirror these two, get them in formation according to this new idea of what is just and right in the military, which of course is not just and right. And then we have the book. These brass do not know why they're going. They didn't get an agenda sent to them along with their summons to appear. They have no idea. So it's to keep everybody on the back foot, um, off balance. Okay, that's why he did it that way. Okay, the fish clarifiers are the moon, you've got woman again, and clover. So, he wants to sort of gin people up quickly. Now, these two, again, this is reputation. And again, this is a very yin card. He's letting them know, you brass are not the boss. I'm the boss of you. And so it's sort of making sure everybody knows what their place is and that their place is in line behind him. The other thing for fish is there are a lot of fish in the sea. There are a lot of these generals being summoned, over 100, 150, something like that, 150, 180. But, he needs all of his fish in the sea lined up. All of the ducks in a row need to bend the knee and kiss the ring. His, Hegseth's, and in a public way, I feel like. Um, so here we have Hegseth, and we have the clarifiers, which are the scythe, the letter, and the lily. Okay, all right. One of the intentions, because this is right under the Hegseth card, is that for people who don't agree to this new way of doing things, this sort of Hegseth or highway um, way of running the military, should submit their paperwork so that they can be severed from the military and retire. This is the card for retirement. If you don't like it, leave. That will be the message. Fourth card in the original line is the garden. And remember, that's the public. And the clarifiers are the tree, the dog, and the stork. So he's going to try to use as much carrot as he uses stick. The stick is what I just read, which is if you don't like it, retire, turn in your paperwork because you need to be severed from this operation. But then we have the carrot. So the garden is the public, people. And he'll say something like, we're doing what we're doing for the health and welfare tree of the people. We are the guardians and the protectors of the people. Therefore, we have to, um, you know, get rid of Antifa, which is not even a thing, uh, uh, so that we can make the people new and improved, better, more sort of, I don't know, Christian national-esque, because that's his idea of better. Final card in our original line is the cross. Clarifiers are the ship, the house, and the bouquet. Ultimately, of course, this move that he's making to call everybody in, to give everybody either a pep talk or a dressing down, to encourage people who are not all in to retire. This is a gift that he's giving to the White House. Again, this is Hegseth's way of kissing the ring. Um, Now, it's interesting. We have the cross and we have the ship. There may be some, we'll call it defections among the brass, people who say, I, I can't do this. Remember, military are meant not to obey uh, orders that are illegal or immoral. And the military's allegiance is not meant to be so much to the commander in chief, it's meant to be to the Constitution. So there could well be people who say, I'm out of here. Um, and, effectively, what that could do is lead to a more compliant brass, because who will be left? But the people who have agreed to kiss the ring. I will say that all that glitters is not gold, meaning that there could very well be people who agree to kiss the ring, but they actually didn't agree to kiss the ring. They will only be giving the appearance of agreeing to kiss the ring, if you know what I mean. So I don't think that there's anything imminent in terms of, troop deployment overseas or, we're going to do a draft there's nothing like that. Nor do I think that declaration of martial law is imminent. But I do think that this is more meant to take the temperature of everyone because a lot of these people have never even been in a room with each other, never met each other. So it's meant to take the temperature, gauge the obedience of the brass, cull the brass, separate the wheat from the chaff, the people who they want to keep in and the people they're going to encourage to leave. Um, it sort of seems like a preliminary step to something else, but the something else that people are worried about, like again, our entering a world war, or there being a draft, or there being martial law, those things are not in the immediate future. Um, this is just a first step to get the brass all on board. So that's what I see there. Again, not all of the brass will be on board. Some of them will, some of them will, but there will be brass who are not on board, and there will also be brass who will give the impression of being on board, but they're not. So everything that you see is not everything that is. Just bear that in mind. And whatever we're given as the party line will probably not be the truth about what happened in that meeting. So that's coming up Tuesday, and so there's a lot of talk about the press being banned from the meeting. Uh, we'll see what happens. They'll probably go back and forth on that a few times. I suspect probably the press will be banned from part of it. Uh, but what's done in the dark always comes to light. So the other thing I wanted to look at is the fact that Steve Johnson, the Speaker of the House, for like a minute more, um, the word is that he's planning to delay the swearing in of the newly elected representative from Arizona. Now, this is Democrat Adelita Grijalva. She won the election that was run because her father died in office. She won by 68% in Arizona. That's a huge, huge percentage. Uh, and technically, she could be sworn in as early as October 7th. The thing is, at which point, if she's sworn in on October 7th, at that point, they could take the vote because the Democrats would have the 218 votes that they need to take the vote to vote on whether or not the Epstein files should be released. So this is not a vote. This first vote is not a vote on whether or not to release the Epstein files. No, this is a vote on whether or not to vote on releasing the Epstein files. It's like once removed. Anyway, Johnson has threatened that he will not swear her in on the 7th. He's going to try to slow walk it, which means that she technically could not be sworn in until the 14th of October or possibly later than that, even. So I guess, uh, I feel like I don't need to ask, is he going to refuse to swear her in on the 7th? Because he will. That's one of their big tactics, right? Is delay, delay, delay. But what I want to ask is, in the end, will that vote um, be taken? But more to the point, will the vote in the end, that second vote that they take to release the files, will that be in our favor? So I'm going to use the letter for the vote, and will the House vote to release the files? That's the question. Will the House vote in the end, whenever uh, the Arizona representative is sworn in, because she will be sworn in, she won the election. Whenever that happens, will there be a vote? I mean, will they in the end vote to release the files? Okay. They needed 218. They will now have 218 with her in her seat. So here we go. This is the vote to release the files. Okay. So we have the star, the fox, the letter, scale, and the garden. So I think that yes, delay tactics notwithstanding, There may be some delay. We have to wait a little bit into the future. There's no mountain here. The mountain is the card for delay, but this might as well be the mountain. This is saying that we're looking at a vote that's going to happen in the future. Once she's sworn in and once she and they have voted to take the vote. I'm moving past that and I want to know, will the House release those files? Will they vote to release those files? We have the fox as the second card. Don't love it because we already see that Mike Johnson is the fox creating the delay. She could be sworn in a whole week earlier than he wants to do it. Well, he doesn't want to do it at all. So he's going to delay it a week. And that's a sort of a foxy move. Um, but in the end, justice prevails and the garden is publicizing. So the files are publicized. The files are disseminated to the public. Speaking of that, speaking of the files, uh, last week or 2 weeks ago, or whenever we were enmeshed in the CK story, something that got lost in translation was the fact that there was a vote taken in the Senate, um, to the same kind of vote that we're talking about with the House, to release the files. I think the measure was proposed by Schumer. I think Schumer proposed it, and it lost by one vote. And the one vote was the one no vote that tipped it over into the no category was Lisa Murkowski, senator from Alaska. So, I mean, why? Like, why would she vote no? She's supposed to be, a woman. Like, why would she want these files released? Well, come to find out, we learn, the spider web is just very wide. It's also very thick and sticky. It's viscous, and it seems like everybody is a part of it. So Lisa Murkowski, as it turns out, is one of the flies caught in the spider web, because she's married to this guy. They're Alaskan, remember? And her husband uh, has some business conservation related, um, yeah, well, anyway, conservation related to the Arctic Circle and all that. And someone else who we may not realize is actually married is Ghislaine Maxwell. So she's married to this guy who also is some sort of developer or whatever, and conservation, nature stuff. Well, apparently, many, many times, uh, Murkowski's husband and Jeffrey Epstein, is that right? Yeah, shared a stage giving presentations. So did Ghislaine Maxwell share a stage more than once with Lisa Murkowski. So, they say 6 degrees of separation. In this whole scandal, there's like 0 degrees of separation. So, we don't know what Murkowski's specific objection to releasing the Epstein files is or was, such that she voted no, except insofar as people she knows and people to whom she is near and dear may very well be on that proverbial list. So I checked, and she is not up for reelection until 28. She would be leaving office, that means, or serve another term starting in January 3rd of 2029. So she's in no imminent danger because we're only in year 2025. But I'm just curious, will her uh, proximity to the Epstein situation affect her reelection chances. Now, it could very well be that she decides at that point not to run. At that point, she'll be in her 70s, I think. I think she's 69 right now. She was born in my year. Anyway, she may decide she's a little long in the tooth. Not that people tend to do that, right? They tend to hang on way past when they should leave. But I just want to know whether Murkowski will have any kind of um, price to pay for having voted no and for being, like less than a half of a degree separate from the Epstein files. Having been on a stage co-presenting stuff with um, Elaine Maxwell and her personal husband, having been on a stage many times co-presenting with Epstein. So, how will things go for her, for Murkowski, uh, politically? Maybe the Alaskans don't care. I don't know. But I'm going to use the older woman for her. And I just want to see if there will be any consequences for her being associated so closely with Epstein and Maxwell. Okay, so this is standing for Lisa Murkowski. Okay, so we have the sun, we have the book, we have Murkowski, we have the mice, and we have the young man. So the first thing that I want to say is, we love the sun, they consider it the best card in the deck, but the sun's not always good. If it is shining light on things that you want kept covered up. So here's the sun shining like a searchlight on stuff that she would just as soon have been kept hidden, which would be her Epstein association. But look, it was brought to light. What she tried to hide is brought to light. She is really worried about this. So, of course, she voted no because her name, for all, her name could be on the list. Her husband's name could be on the list. I mean, the list is anybody who associated with Epstein. So, of course, her name's on the list and his name's on the list. She is really, really worried about that and feels kind of a little, uh, she's going to try to tough it out, you know, like gaslight people. Um, so what? We were on the same stage. What's that mean? We were talking about conservation. We weren't talking about SA. That's what she'll say. You know, hmm, she'll stick her chin out. What have you got? But really, she's scared. And I know because here's this mice card. Clarifiers are the snake, clover, and the cross. So we know she's worried, she's anxious, that this is going to be a real problem for her and could, quick, fast, and in a hurry, um, cause her some pain. I mean, I don't know. Could they recall her? And I don't know if Alaska might be disinclined to recall her because it's a pretty conservative state. Sarah Palin, anyone? So, but she's feeling this. She is really feeling like she's being crucified for her association. And she will say, I didn't know anything about anything. But these meetings and these appearances were post the time that Epstein served time in jail the first time around in Florida. right? So everybody knew who Epstein was. I knew what Epstein was all about. So she cannot claim ignorance there. And then I pulled cards on this card here. We have the young man, and then we have the garden, scales, and the tower. So she might play tough and, what's it to you? So what? But the public is going to judge her and whether she deserves to stay in public office. I suspect she'll retire when her term is up so that she doesn't have to go through a reelection campaign. That's what I think. Yeah. So I take some comfort in the fact that with that snake there and those mice and that cross, she is really feeling the heat from this. Uh, she's always known that she was on the stage with Maxwell. She's always known that her husband and Epstein were business associates. She never announced it. She never confessed it. She never acknowledged it. And now she'll play tough and say, well, so what? What's it to you? But bottom line, she was the vote, the one vote that caused the files to not be um, disseminated to the public because she voted no on the House uh, resolution to put it to a vote. So there you go. Um, Another thing I thought I'd look at is the fact that the felon is now saying that, well, there's an order given. There's been an order given by Kristi Noem, and the order is that troops are going to go into Portland, Oregon, because supposedly Portland, Oregon is under siege in the same way that they claimed LA here was under siege when it was not. Oh, under siege from whom? Antifa, which is not a thing. I just want to know, so Portland's all worried. Portland's a very peaceful place. It's also a very blue place. So of course he wants to send troops there. So I'd like to know how things will go in Portland. Portland's got a lot of like hippies, so they do hippie type stuff um, in their protests. I mean, they would be the kind of people who put flowers in the muzzles of guns of soldiers or something like that. Um, they claim that the administration claims that ICE facilities are being assaulted by Antifa. Apparently, there's only one ICE facility and it holds no immigrants. It's just like a building. So, this is mu as much a charade as the LA thing was. So, I'd like to know how Portland will fare when soldiers come to town. I think I'll use the garden for Portland. How will things go in Portland? Okay, this stands for Portland, Oregon. Okay, so we have the young man, we have the house, we have the garden that's standing for Portland, we have the ring, and we have the ship. So again, this is, you know, 47 being a bully, the felon being a bully and asking the military, the National Guard to be bullies on his behalf, bullies by proxy. Um, Second card is the White House, and there have been meetings on this, and you know, strategic planning about which cities will be hit when and for what purpose and what messaging. So that's coming directly, of course, from the White House. This is Portland, and the clarifiers are the mountain, the lily, and the sun. I think it will, it's kind of like what happened with Chicago, where there was going to be this big offensive on Chicago and then delay, delay, delay. Remember, I said it was going to be delayed? Well, I think the Portland one will be delayed too, because, you know, Portland is, they're lovers, they're not fighters. Peace, happiness, love, hippies. It's gonna, it's not a good look. So I think they're not going to go in tomorrow, let's say, I don't think. Uh, the fourth card is the ring. The clarifiers are the crossroads, the coffin, and the bear. So again, they've got this plan to go in like they did to LA, like they did to Chicago. Um, now what is it, Memphis? Now they've got it's just the same playbook again and again and again. But I think the plan gets derailed with Crossroads. We were going to go this way, but now we have to do a plan B. So the plan will get derailed. Listen, this is one of my cards for the felon, the narcissist. I mean, you know what that is. October is coming, and I think October is a very important month for the felon's health and well-being, if you get what I mean. So, the best laid plans may be derailed by events beyond anyone's control. Just saying. Uh, and then we have the final card is the ship, and we have the woman, the dog, the woman. This I just feel like this they pass it by. They pass Portland by because they have other things that they have to focus on. Like chain of command. Um, if the felon is not there anymore, then the retribution tour has no leader. And so then what do we do? There's going to have to be a lot of retooling. So I just think things kind of calm down and are more, they're not so bellicose and hostile and attacking of citizens just as a show of force. So we'll see. And then finally, speaking of, let's look at the felon. I'm just, you know, a concerned citizen, um, curious about his health and welfare. So we're going to look at his health. And I could use the tree because that is the card for health, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use the card for him. So I'm going to use the older man card that stands for the felon. And I just want to know how he's feeling in this last week of September into the month of October, which I think will be really a pivotal one for him personally. Um, I don't bridge shuffle, I don't do that with my cards. So I shuffle them the way I shuffle them. And we're going to look for him, see what we get. And this will be the last question for today. So we're looking for the felon. It's going to be the older man. Pops right up. Well, these first five look fine from his perspective. I'm going to pull my three-card postscript. Okay. So, we're just looking at, I'm going to say, this next couple of weeks moving up and moving forward. That's essentially what I intended this spread to represent. So we have the dog, we have the older woman, we have the felon, we have the house, and we have the bouquet. One of the things that I will say out of the gate is that Melania will be staying close to the felon, as she has done of late. He needs her to help him walk sometimes because he can't walk a straight line without holding somebody's hand. He does rely on her for advice and counsel. I saw a video of the two of them deep in conversation on the way, I guess they were on a train or something, um, on the way from after his talk at the UN, which was not well received. And I'm sure he didn't appreciate that. And it looked like she was giving him some advice about that. Um, she does try to temper his temper, and I think she's one of the few people who can. So this is somebody who is like a helper, an aid, a support. The second card, in fact, is Melania. Um, I can mirror this card with the last card in the original line, which is the bouquet. So her presence as his his what primary aide de camp is really a gift to him, really helpful to him. So here she is, and as I said, she will stay close to where he is, close to him in the White House or whatever, wherever he is. Whether it's Bedminster or wherever, she will be a constant presence because he needs that to function. Uh, so here she is, and then the clarifiers are the young man, the anchor, and the garden. So here she is helping him to feel like he can function, right? Like if she holds his hand, he can walk a straight line. If he needs advice, she's there to give it to him. So she shores him up, keeps him going, so to speak, um, and anchors him so that he can um, function in public. And that's why we will see her. This is an iteration of her, the helper, out in public more with him, more than we've seen in recent past. Here she is, and the cards for her are the key, the mice, and the crossroads. So, uh, Melania, the mice. Well, I'll talk about the key in a second, but I want to talk about the mice. Uh, when he goes her life will change. And I told you that a lot of time, most of the time, mice are not good. They're the card for disease, anxiety, stress, worry, dirt, filth, famine, uh, plague, all that. But sometimes they're not that. Sometimes they are kind of the opposite of that. And the image that I always use, the reference point, is Cinderella, the Disney version. And if you are, of a certain age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not, you probably still know what I'm talking about because this is a classic. If you've not seen it, you should see it. It's Disney's Cinderella. It's a cartoon. And in that story, in that version of the story, poor Cinderella, she's there with her stepmother and her evil stepsisters, and everybody's mean to her. And she's just like a scullery maid. But she makes friends in the castle where she lives, or in the manor that she lives. Um, with mice who also live there. And these mice start out being really bad-tempered and very frenetic. Like they're always bumping into each other and muttering at each other. And just, well, they meet Cinderella and everybody becomes friends. And then the fairy godmother um, is going to give Cinderella an opportunity to go to the ball. And she enlists the aid of the mice to help her, the fairy godmother, create this beautiful experience for Cinderella. And what happens is all of that frenetic running around, that bumping into each other, and well, it gets channeled into a cause. And the cause is to create for their friend this beautiful ball experience, which, as you know, leads to her meeting the prince, and the prince, and then they live happily ever after. Anyway, that's the upshot of the story. But the point is, sometimes in a reading, when the mice don't fit as something negative, which 9 times out of 10 they will, think of the Disney mice because this is excitement. So back to Melania. Uh, she is continuing to put in her time because she wants her reward, the key, the thing that will unlock the rest of her life. So, as as worried as she is, I mean, eventually there'll be a wake and a funeral and a burial, and she'll have to be very visible and wear black and look sad. Um, the whole time, she's going to be kind of excited. Why is that? Because now she can get off that first lady path, hand it over to Usha Vance, and go her way and live her life, probably in Europe. So while on the one hand, she's having to do this duty with him, this nursing duty, this caretaking duty, the whole time she is saying, trouble don't last always. Even she is saying that trouble don't last always. And eventually, I I am so excited. My ship will come in. The golden key will be mine. And I'm so excited because I will be able to get off this track and go down that path, live my life as a wealthy European widow who was twice uh, First Lady of the United States of America. Here he is in the center, and the clarifiers for him are the scythe, the sun, and the woman. I mean, scythe, that's not good. And together with the sun feels heart related to me, or brain related, like something sudden and sharp. This is sudden, and this is, well, it's also sharp, and this is pain. That renders him, relative to this card, uh, renders him way less powerful than he's been, put it that way. So even if it's not the big one, to quote, what was that guy, Sanford and Son? Oh, it's the big one. Even if it's not the big one, it will be something that really diminishes him even more than he's been diminished. Fourth card is the house. Clarifiers are the letter, the heart, and the fox. To be the White House. This is medical expert. Nothing nefarious, just a medical expert. And I feel like there will be prescriptions given to keep his heart going. Whatever. I'm not a doctor, digitalis, whatever, whatever. Some kind of prescription for a procedure or a medication to keep his heart going. And then finally, we have the bouquet. Clarifiers are the stork, the child, and the rider. So I think he will have, I think whatever this medication is, whatever this prescription is helpful to him. He feels better, like new for a short time. Um, but the message is that he really needs more help than he's ever needed in his life just to function. And then I drew the three-card postscript. And again, this is for the next couple of weeks, but we have the cross, the lily, and the clouds. These do not bode well for him at all. None of the three of these do. The cross is suffering. Lily, he's an old man. And the presidency, no matter who you are, ages you. And he is in ill health. So he will become more and more enfeebled and more confused. Now, the bad thing about him being confused is that his confusion tends to lead to irrational irascibility, which puts everybody in danger. I mean, if it was just him in a padded room, it would be fine. But, this puts all of us, at some risk. What kind of order is he going to give and who's going to follow it and whatever. But I also think that people in the administration are thinking in a very sort of um, post, and the Congress as well, starting to think in a post-Trumpian way. Like, what will the world look like? What will the country look like once he's gone? And how can I position myself to take best advantage of whatever that looks like? So the more enfeebled he is, the more he becomes kind of, I don't know, unimportant. Uh, so let's watch that unfold in the next weeks and weeks to month or two. Um, Again, I am just a card reader. I am not a doctor. Uh, these readings are for entertainment purposes only. I may be right. I may be wrong. I'm reading energy, and I'm reading the energy of the moment. Everybody has free will. I don't know. He could decide to go on a vegan diet and what? Take up yoga. He has free will. It's not going to happen. But, he could. So just bear in mind that this is just a card reading. Um, but this is what it looks like. It looks like it's that his time is getting closer. I think that's why he's been so cranky, is he knows that. Somebody said, I thought this was accurate. It's less now that he's worried about hoping to go to heaven, and more about that he's worried about going to hell. Well, he's put the rest of us there, that's for sure. Anyway, have a great rest of your Saturday, a great rest of your weekend. I do have a video up for tomorrow, the Sunday conversation. It is different. It's where I bring on a guest who I think might have something to say that you might find interesting. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but I have someone, a Canadian, and I love Canadians, as you know. So this is a Canadian friend, and I hope you enjoy that video as well. And in the meantime, I will see you Monday. So have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.